Welcome to today's SharePoint top tip video. Today we're going to take a look at document retention. So what is document retention? Document retention is where in SharePoint we can apply a label onto a document. This document, with having a label applied, controls the life cycle of that document. A document's life cycle can begin when a document is created, when a document is modified, or based upon events or certain actions. Once either of these triggers have been activated, the life cycle kicks in, where you can then begin a disposition review to determine what happens to the file, automatically move the document to a records management center, or you can delete the document straight away. What we will now do is we'll jump into an example and show you how to build the label, apply it onto a library, and then apply it onto your document. The first step of applying document retention into SharePoint is to navigate to your Microsoft 365 Admin Center. From here, go ahead and click into the Compliance Center, which is an admin center on the left-hand side. Once the Compliance Center loads, on the left-hand menu, go ahead and select Information Governance. You will now see all of your labels, label policies, retention policies, policy lookups, and the ability to import and archive from this location. The very first thing we will want to do is create a brand new label to apply onto our documents. So go ahead and create a label. It is worth noting that this capability will only be available to users who have the relevant permissions for records management. Go ahead and give your label a name. You can also leave a description for the user so they understand what it's for. And lastly, you can go ahead and add a description for admins. This is so admins will understand what the label is, what it's for, and how it's being used. Once you're happy, click Next. The next section is all to do with your retention settings. Here we can specify how long we want to retain the items for before continuing with an action. So what we have in this example here is the 7-year retention period, and start that retention period based upon a certain event. As you saw previously in this video, we can change it from when an item is created or when an item was last modified. However, there are other event-based types, so when an item was labeled, and other custom capabilities using event types. These event types are only available in Microsoft's E5 license and will not be available to anything else. In our example, we're going to put when an item was created, and we're going to change our retention period to be custom, and we're going to set it to be 1 year. Our retention policy for this label will begin 1 year after the document was created that has this label applied to it. Below, we now have the ability to decide what we want to do. We have quite a few different options here. We can delete the item automatically once it reaches a year old. We can start a disposition review, again noting this is only available for E5 customers. You do nothing. You can retain the item forever. Only delete items when they reach a certain age, and don't retain or delete items. There's a few different available options here depending on what your requirements are. For our example today, we're going to keep with the default, which is deleting items automatically after 1 year of the document being created using our label. Hit Next to continue. Here you can review and configure any further settings before continuing. However, once you are ready, click on the Create Label button at the bottom. Once your label has been created, your final step within the Compliance Center is to publish this label. You can publish the label to Microsoft 365 locations that you choose, whether that be OneDrive, Exchange, or in our case, SharePoint. The middle option is to start a 90-day trial to automatically apply labels to specific content. Again, this is only available for E5 customers. This basically gives you the ability to set a label based upon certain criteria, certain pieces of metadata, or based upon events. At the bottom, you can also do nothing as well, but that means that label will not be available to be used until published. In our example, we're going to select the top option, which is to publish this label to Microsoft 365 locations, and hit Done. As our label is already selected, we can go ahead and click Next. You can choose the type of retention policy to create. You can choose between adaptive, which as you can see available with Microsoft E5 licenses or equivalent, or we can choose static at the bottom. The static one is what we're going to select for this example today, where you'll choose locations containing the content you want to retain. We want to apply this onto our SharePoint content. So static is what we're going to want. We can hit next. And here is where we can specify where the label should be used. If you wish your label to only be used in one specific SharePoint site, we can choose the bottom option to choose a specific location. If you're okay with the label being applied to every single SharePoint site and other locations as well, including Exchange, SharePoint, and Microsoft 365 groups, you can go ahead and keep it set to all. However, in our example, we want it just to SharePoint. I'm going to switch off all the other options. And within SharePoint, I'm only going to put it to one specific site. So I'm going to go to the Edit button. And in here, we can search for a site to add. Paste or type in the URL of the SharePoint site you would like. And then on the right-hand side of the search box, click the plus symbol to add that site. That will now be presented below. To select this site and to apply the label to just this location, you have to select it as well. So ensure you click the select button to the left-hand side and click done. As you now chose your location, that means that our brand new label will only be published to that one SharePoint site exclusively. We'll click next to continue. We'll give our policy a name and also a description. Once you're happy, click next. And this is the final part. We can now finish and submit our policy along with our label to begin our retention journey. However, it is worth noting that at the top ribbon, it does say that it will take up to 1 day for labels to appear to users. So if you are planning ahead with your labels and wanting to use retention, you may have to give this next step up to 24 hours to be applied. Once you're happy, click submit. Shortly, you'll be able to begin using your label within your SharePoint site, and we'll just demonstrate that now. After a little bit of time, you will now be able to start using your retention label. Here is our demonstration SharePoint site, and I'm going to go into a document library down here on the left-hand side. I named it Retention Library. In here, I've already uploaded a document called Training Agreement, which I'm going to select. And then using the detail pane on the right-hand side, I'm going to just scroll down and have a look for the Apply Label option. Where in here, we can see the option for Document Retention Label is now available for our users to select. So I'll apply that onto my document. That'll then save, and my label will now be applied to that document. So 1 year after this document was created, it will automatically be deleted. So retention is very straightforward and very easy to apply onto our documents. But we'll just show you some of the other little tricks now that might be useful for you. The first of which is the views. What we can do is if you go into Add Column, select the option for Show and Hide, you can make that label visible to the users through the view. Down at the bottom on the right there's an option for Retention Label. I can select that, hit Apply, and you'll now see the retention label being applied to that document and it's visible to everybody. We would definitely recommend having that turned on. If you wish within your library as well that documents are automatically applied with labels, let's now set that up. So using the cog in the top right hand corner of your library, click on that, navigate to the Library Settings option, and in the middle under Permissions and Management, we're looking for the option that says Apply Label to Items in this list or library. Second from bottom here. If you wish to apply a label to this library and apply it to the documents automatically, you need to select what label you wish for that to be. In our circumstance, it's Document Retention Label, which is retaining for 1 year and then deleting. We can have that selected. That now means every document that's automatically added into this library will use the same retention policy. If you wish to apply this to existing documents in the library, be sure to select the check mark below. Click Save to continue. So any new documents that are added to your library will automatically be given that brand new label. This was just a simple example of how to create and apply labels to your documents within a document library in SharePoint. For more information on document retention, be sure to call one of our experts today who would be happy to help.